Hi good people, Titus here for another Blender tutorial, and in this video we'll tackle creating an AR15 buttstock to add to the rest of our mesh. Let's not waste any time and jump right into it. Alright, let's position our 3D cursor. I'm going to select the lower receiver, tab into edit mode, and we're going to find a vertex to select. I think a center vertex here will work. We can do Shift S and do cursor to selected, tab back into object mode. And now we can do Shift A, add a circle. We want to do 24 vertices. And then I'm going to rotate in the Y by 90 degrees. And then I can scale it down. I'm going to grab in the X, pull it back. And then just scale it appropriately here. Probably somewhere around there maybe. And then I'll do Control A, apply the rotation scale. We'll tab into edit mode, and I'm going to hide our other models for now. This one is going to be symmetrical, so we can delete the vertices on one side, and then we can add a mirror modifier, and then mirror on the Y-axis and enable clipping, like that. And now let's actually bring back our reference model. Let's grab these three vertices, grab in the Z, just bring it down right about there. Grab these two vertices, grab in the Y, and then just line it up, just like that. And we can press A, select everything, F to fill, and now we can actually begin to extrude out the mesh. So press E to extrude, and then just basically go out to, I guess, as wide as you want to make the buttstock. So I guess somewhere maybe right around there probably looks okay. We bring back our other model. It's probably gonna be right about there. So yeah, I think that's probably okay. If we need to make it a little bit longer, we can too. Easy enough. Alright, so now we need a couple loop cuts. We'll do Control R, add a loop cut back here. And then Control R, and we'll add a loop cut probably right around there. I'm going to press 3 or click here to go into face select. I can select these faces here. I need to extrude those down, but I need to lock it in the Z axis, not the local Z. So I'll press Z twice, and then just bring it down maybe right about there. I then need Control R to add a loop cut here. We'll bring that down. And for this one, I'm gonna go into vertex select. I'm going to use individual origins, or a median point would be fine too. And then you can press S to scale, Z, and then 0. And I'll turn it into a nice even line. We can then select these faces here, and we can extrude forward, maybe somewhere around here. And then we can select these faces here. And then if we extrude, we want to press C twice, so it's the global Z axis. And then I'm just going to bring this down just a smidge, somewhere around there. And then we're getting kind of the basic shape here. I think for my buttstock, I'm going to try to actually have it connected. So what I can do is we'll add a loop cut here, and I'll bring this down pretty low. And then I'll add a loop cut here. And then I'm going to press Control B to add a bevel. And this is going to be basically, I'm going to do an indent, so I guess how thick I want the indent to be. So I'll probably do somewhere around maybe there. No, I'll probably do a little bit wider. I'll probably go like that. And then I need a loop cut here, and then I'm going to bevel that. And these are going to be my supporting loops on the sides. So I'll probably do something like that. think that's pretty good. So we can go to vertex select. I'm going to select these vertices here, actually. And then I can actually grab in the X and just push this forward a bit so it angles the face kind of closer to this. And then for this one, I will actually just edge slide these back. So it's kind of like that. And then I can select these faces here, press X, and delete them. And then I can use Alt and then Shift Alt, select those edge loops, and then right click, use your loop tools, and do a bridge. And if you need to increase the segments, you can. It's twisting because the face orientation is off, but I'm actually okay with it being a little bit boxy, and I'll straighten that up a little bit later. So now, real quick, if we add a subsurf, so subdivision surface, and bump it to 2, you can see we have some weird twisting. If we come into our viewport overlays and enable face orientation, you can see we have inverted normals. So we can press A, select all, and then Shift N, and it will recalculate those normals for us. And then we can disable that in the overlays. And so far that is the general shape that we have, which is pretty much what I was going for. Don't worry about the, we'll kind of tighten up some of these edge loops here towards the end, but just kind of get the general shape starting off. I think that's pretty good. And then if we come over to this face here, so Shift Control, and then Shift to select that, we can press I and add an inset. And if you press B, you can add a boundary. And I'm probably just going to go maybe right about there. And then I'm going to press E and extrude this back just a bit. Kind of like that. And then I can press Control R. And we can just go ahead and add a loop cut here. And then if you want, you can do Control R and add another supporting loop on the other side. That way you kind of get the bevel. If you want to clean up the geometry on the inside, you can do that a few different ways. An edge loop or an inset will work. Or you can ignore it because it's probably not going to be seen, because you're going to have other geometry in here anyways. But if we just want to do, actually the first thing we'll want to do is make sure that is scale X0. Yeah, it looks like it is, okay. And we'll do I for an inset. And that way it kind of will get most of those shading issues taken care of. But we'll go to edge select, select this edge, then Shift S, move the cursor there, so it's kind of center. And then we can tab into object mode, and then Shift A, we're gonna add a new cylinder. And just like the circle, we're gonna try 24 vertices, rotate in the Y by 90 degrees, and then just kind of scale that down. And grab in the Z, and if you lock it in the Z, it should be dead center, because we moved the 3D cursor there, so I think that looks pretty okay. Now we're going to be working on the junction between the buttstock and the actual, I guess in this case would actually be the lower receiver, but let's bring that in here. So we need to scale this in the X. We can kind of bring it here. Probably right about there is good. Then we could shade smooth. And then this is also going to be using subsurf modifier, so we can do add it through the modifier stack or Control 2, and it'll add a subdivision surface automatically for you. Now if we tab into edit mode and then / to isolate, you can come and do edge select and hold Alt, select that edge, Shift Alt, select this edge, And we're going to do my favorite bevel, which is Control B. And my favorite bevel is one with a shape of 1, segments of 2. And that'll pretty much clean up any like 90-degree angle you got perfectly every time. Alright, now we need to create some threading, or the illusion of threading. So I'll do Control R, I'll add a loop cut here, and I want to bring it to the halfway point of where I want it on the right side. So probably, I don't know, maybe right about there. And then I want to do a Control B to bevel, and I'm going to add maybe 5 segments. I think I'd probably get away with 5. We'll try it. We'll go hold Alt and then Shift Alt to select all those loops. Control B. This time we're going to use just 2 segments. And I'm going to go about that thickness right there. And then you can press E to extrude, S to scale. And then we don't want to scale on the x-axis, so we can do Shift X. So we do only the Y and the Z. And you don't need a lot here, so there's kind of like nothing. You can just pinch it just a bit. And then if you select 3, or go to your face select here, we can then, with individual origins, scale in the X and make it real small. So it kind of gives you the illusion of threading. And then we can add a loop cut here and push it forward, just to tighten up that geometry there. Bring it out of isolation mode, and there you have the illusion of threading. Now we need to work on the, I guess the lock nut or whatever that's called, so we can borrow some geometry. So we'll do face select, hold Alt, and we'll just do that selection there. Then Shift D, so you can duplicate it. Right click to snap it back. Press P to separate by selection. And then you can scale it, actually tab into object mode. And then select that new cylinder. And then scale it just a bit. And now we're going to scale in the X, and we're going to bring it real small. It's probably even smaller than that. Probably right around there. So come in isolation mode with /. Before we go into edit mode, let's do Control A and apply the rotation scale. So it has uniform rotation, uniform scale. Then in edit mode, we can select everything and press E and then S to extrude and scale. Do Shift X so it doesn't make it any wider. And then I'm going to go maybe about that thickness. And it has the subsurf modifier because we copied it from geometry that had a subsurf, so that's okay though, we want that. Now to actually get some notches in here, we're going to need some extra loop cuts. So we'll add a loop cut on the outside, and we'll add a loop cut on the inside with Control R. We're going to select both those loop cuts with Shift Alt, and then Control B to bevel, and push the bevel out as far as you want your notch to go. So I'm going to do maybe right about there. I'm going to go to face select, and I got to figure out which ones I want to notch out. I'm going to count 2 spaces over from dead center top and bottom. So 1, 2, select that, and then 1, 2, oops, and then select that. Same thing for the bottom, 1, 2, select that, and then 1, 2, and that's going to be my selection. So I need to build that out. So we'll select these little mini edges here. And then we need to do both sides, so then we need to get this side. Just like that. You should have 24 faces selected. press X, delete those faces. So you're kind of left with that selection, and with your subsurf on, it kind of looks like that. We gotta fill those in though. The way we do it is we'll go to edge select with 2, hold Alt, select an edge, and then you hold Shift and you deselect the outermost face edge right there. And then you can right click, Loop Tools, Bridge. And then we just have to do that 7 more times. So hold Alt, then Shift, get rid of those, Loop Tools, Bridge. Alright, so with subsurf on, you can see it's kind of what the collar of the ring looks like. Doesn't look too bad, but it's a little washed out. So we can add some supporting loops to kind of bring out some of that detail. So you can add a loop down the middle here. Right click so it snaps center. Control B to bevel it. Now you want to press C so it clamps it so you can't go outside the bounds. And then don't push it all the way to the edge, just come a little bit less. Maybe right about there. That way, in case you need to merge by distance for any reason, you have the flexibility to be able to do that. Control B. We'll do the same thing here. Somewhere around there. And that's what that looks like. We can bring out the detail a little bit more. So we'll add a supporting loop here. Oops. Right there. And then we can bevel that and kind of do more of the same. Alright, now looking at the ring, I think that looks pretty good. The details are there. Come out of isolation mode. We just need to scale and place this where it makes sense. I think scaling it maybe a little bit bigger might make sense. Alright, but I think I like the look of that, so don't forget to save your file in case your Blender crashes on you. Alright, let's work on adding some detail to the actual buttstock piece now. So the first accent piece I'm going to use, and I'm using my PureRef reference here. I'd put it on the screen, but it's not a perfect like front facing or side facing. It's kind of just like a pose shot, so you can't really use it. You can look at it to get inspiration or whatever you're going to use, but it's not going to line up correctly, so it can't be used as a good reference, unfortunately. But I'm going to add a loop here, and I'm going to Control B, bevel, mouse wheel up to do 3 segments, so maybe somewhere around there, and then I'll go into vertex select with 1. I'm going to hide my subsurf for a second, and then I'm going to select that vertice, GG to edge slide it. I just kind of edge slide it up. Then I'll go to face select there, shift control down here. And then we can add an eye for an inset. Make sure the boundary is off. And then we can E and extrude that in. And I don't think it takes much. And with your subsurf, you get something that kind of pops like that. So that's our first accent there. I think 3 to 5 accent pieces on a part of a model is probably a good place to be. So work on the second one here. We'll do a Control R, add a loop here, Control B. We need a 3 segment because we're gonna be doing a circle. So we'll go maybe right about there. And this one I'll probably do, down here. Kind of want to put it up here. We'll do down here. All right, we'll do Control R. That gives us our 4 squares. So you can Shift Control and then make sure those are selected. And then right click Loop Tools, Circle. And then I to Inset. And I come pretty small with my insets, and then we're going to E to extrude this in. And we're going to I to inset it again. And then E to extrude it out. And come maybe that far. And then I to inset again. And then E, extrude that back. And then if you want to define this edge, we'll do Control R, Control B, with just 2 segments. And I'm not going to push it all the way, just come right before. And there's our second accent piece. All right, let's work on another accent piece. So we can put something here. We'll do a loop cut there. And let's go into vertex selection. I'll maybe do kind of like a cross slash type thing. I think before though, I need to pop something out here. Let's select this. We'll do Shift Control. So it kind of selects that. And then let's see if we can just extrude this out. And yeah, that could work. You see what an inset looks like. So if we inset this and then extrude it out. I'm gonna do it the other way. So we'll undo that. And we'll just extrude it out so it's a little washed out. And then I'm going to go to vertex select here. And we're going to hide our subsurf. And I'm going to come with this selection. I'll press GG to edge slide it over. And then I'm going to kind of select the rest of this piece here, and then GG, and I'm just going to deselect one at a time and just kind of edge slide it over to get something that kind of makes like a little bit of a slash. And then I'll probably just go, I think that's probably far enough, so nothing too crazy there. We'll go to edge select with 2, hold Alt, we'll select that edge. I'm going to bevel it. The amount of bevels you make is basically how many accent pieces you want to add here. So I'm going to do maybe 4 starting off, and I'm going to make it pretty wide, maybe right about there. And then I'm going to hold Alt and select each of those 4 edge loops. We're going to do a 2-section bevel. It's right about here. And now we need to define where you want the accent to show up. So I'm going to go to face select, I think right here, down to right about there. We'll try that. So I'm just holding Shift, and then Shift and Control, and then back to Shift, and then Shift and Control, just to build out that selection. Then we can press I to add an inset to give a little bit of rigidity, and then E to extrude it in. You don't have to go very far, so you kind of have that sort of look. And then when you add your subsurf on, it kind of defines it a little bit more, something like that. And that's our 3rd accent, so let's work on, I think we'll do the 4th one down here, and then we'll work on adding the rubber padding to the back of the buttstock as well. Alright, so to make this work, we're going to have to use a pivot point. So let's go to edge select, we'll select this edge, we'll move the cursor there, and let's hide this for now. So we have our border set up already, so if I do Shift and Control, and then Shift and Shift and Control, That's the selection I'm thinking about. So we can press I to add some rigidity, a little inset. Change our pivot point to be the 3D cursor. We can then scale in the y-axis, and we can just push this in like pretty far. You can extrude, or you can also try an Alt S as well. So there's a few ways you can do it, I guess. Let's see what that looks like. I think I can make that work. Let's see what an extrusion looks like, just so we're... So if we extrude, and then you can right click, snap it back, and then scale in the Y. I think it just kind of defines the border a little bit more. I'm gonna try it the other way though. So I got my inset, so I'm gonna scale in the Y, push it back, and we'll go pretty far, maybe right about there. And now, what I can do is add a loop cut down the middle, bevel that into 3 segments, space it out pretty far, and we can hold Alt, Shift Alt, build that selection up, do a Control B, we'll do a 3 segment, that's fine. I'm gonna go maybe right about there, and then I can go to 3, and I'm actually gonna add another edge loop this way and bring it down, and then I'm gonna do Shift Control, and then Shift Control, and just build out this selection like that. Then E to extrude, and then that is the 4th accent piece. Now we add our subsurf on. Looks like we might have some pinching right here. Let's see what's going on with the vertices. I think this edge loop just might be a tad close. That's a little bit better. Once we add our supporting loops, that should fill out, which actually I think we are probably good to start doing, because we're going to model the rubber padding separately. So let's actually start to fill this out. So let's go right here and add, do Control R, add an edge loop here, fill out those sides like so. When you add your edge loops, make sure you look around, make sure you don't mess anything up too crazy. Let's add an edge loop here, push this back. Yeah, look right. Undo that one. We need one right here is probably the better support loop for you. And we may or may not do one here. Let me see what this looks like. I think that might give us too much pinching. No, maybe not. We got some pinching here though. That one I think we can get away with if we just add a support loop there. And it's not as defined. And then on the back side, we can do face select, shift control. I don't want to get the bevel. And then just add a small inset with eye. That one probably doesn't matter as much because it's going to be covered by the rubber piece. But you can see just with some supporting edge loops, a lot of your accent pieces will really will start to come alive. And I don't know if we need one here. Maybe we do. Probably didn't. That was probably wasted, but. Right, but I think that is enough elements on the actual buttstock part, so let's work on just the rubber piece. So we'll save, make sure we don't lose our progress. And we're gonna do this much the same way. So we can select this edge, we'll do Shift S, move the cursor there, tab into object mode, we'll do Shift A, add a circle, 24 vertices again, rotate Y 90 degrees, S to scale, and GZ to move it up. I think now we could probably hide the import because this one needs to be a lot wider. Like somewhere around there is probably where you need to be. And then we'll do, we have non-uniform rotation and scale, so actually the scale is uniform, but we'll do Control A, apply rotation scale, and then we tab into edit mode, and we can make use of it on the mirror modifier. So we will delete one side of these vertices, and then I have hard op, so I can just do Alt X, select the side I want to copy, and then I'm just going to turn bisect off, and it'll automatically mirror that for me. So make sure clipping's on. I don't think you need merge. You can add merge if you want, I guess. But this pretty much gives us what we had before, so we can grab these vertices. I'm going to grab in the Z, just bring it down. And then I'm going to grab these two, this time grab in the Y, and you want to push it out pretty far. Give yourself enough room, basically. So we press A, select all, F to fill, grab in the X, and then all we're going to basically do is just E to extrude, and extrude it like a covering, somewhere around there. And now that you're here, you can do I to add an inset. And then you want to come just right before, so you can get some of the interesting light effects. Now with the bottom part's a little bit low, so let's Alt Z so we can see what we're doing. And I'm going to grab this one in the Z and just bring it down a bit. And then I'm gonna GG edge slide this one back a bit. Oops. And I think the rest is good. So we can isolate this, select this face, and then E, extrude it back. Right about there is fine. And then I don't think we need the face. I think we can actually delete the face and just be done with it. So yeah, I think that'll probably get us fine. Now we need to add some bevels to make this kind of look kind of like rubber. So let's do 2. We'll hold edge select there, shift, select that one, and then I'm going to select these 2 right here. Control B. And I'm going to try a maybe 3 segment bevel. The issue with this bevel is I think it's still using my my other settings. So we actually need a shape of 0.5 because it needs to be more relaxed. So it kind of looks like rubber. So somewhere around there. Let's go to our object data properties. We can add an auto smooth. I think that should be fine. Now we're gonna add an accent piece down the middle, but before we do that, we wanna add something interesting on the back. Looks like there's a V pattern on my reference, but I'm not working with quads in this object, so I'm gonna have a hard time. But we can work around it. Let's do Control R. Normally it would be a loop cut, but we only have vertices, so we'll roll the mouse wheel up. Do maybe 20. And then you can see all my new geometry there. And then I think with my knife tool, I can just press K, select that, and then press Enter, and then repeat that operation for all the rest of these here. Alright, I can't join this vertice on this bevel, so we can probably actually just dissolve this vertice. And then I need some vertices on this side. We can't do the very last one, so we'll hold Control. And that gives me 11 vertices. So I need 11 loop cuts. So Control R, roll the mouse wheel to 11. And then we'll just join these up like we were before. Alright, so these are our edge loops. Looks a little funky, but we'll see if it works. We'll go to Edge Select, and we're just going to simply select all these loops. And we just need a bevel. It needs to be a 2-segment bevel. And we need it as wide as you want your, kind of like your grommets or your rubber piece to show. So in my reference image, it's pretty skinny, so they're kind of like that. And if you wanted to, you could manually edge slide vertices around to get the shape that you want. I'm not going to futz with it too much though. And then we'll go to Face Select. And we're basically just going to select these designer faces here. Like so. And then just press E to extrude. Just come out a bit. Let the mirror take care of the other side. And now we can go to Edge Select. Alt A to deselect. We'll do select Stripe Sharp Edges. It gives us some extra geometry, so we'll do Shift Alt and get rid of that. Get rid of that. Get rid of this one. Don't need this one. Let's bring it into isolation so we can see what we're doing. And we'll get rid of those edge loops. Get rid of that one. Don't need that one either. And I don't think it gave us what we need. Might have to manually do this. Yeah, it didn't give us the inside edges here. So we want, I mean, we could try without it, but we definitely don't want these. I'm pretty sure that's gonna mess us up. So if we do a Control B, add a bevel, and we'll do 2 segments. Be very big. Just something to catch the light. Yeah, I don't like it. So let's undo that. And let's deselect these bottom outside ones here. And I think we'll still want these edges because we have them on this side. Let's see what it looks like though. Yeah, so let's undo that one and let's add the top and bottom here. Alright, let's try that bevel again. So Control B. Do 3 segments. And yeah, I think that's more or less what I wanted for the design. Perfect. And then we can come over here. We'll add another loop cut. Bring it back here. Control B. We'll do 2 segments. And go to face select. I think we'll do an I for an inset, and then Alt S to push on the normals, and we'll just squeeze it down a smidge, and then we can hold Alt, select these 2 edges here, Control B, and just add a small bevel to catch the light, like that. Give our model a once over. Try out some different matte caps. I think that is good enough for a buttstock. Alright everyone, I hope you enjoyed the vid. If so, consider leaving a like and a sub to help grow the channel. But as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.